How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi. Welcome to another episode of On the Line. This video goes out to our supervisors. You know, as a supervisor, you have to do what you can to make sure that your front line always has that perception of authority. You need to empower them. You need to make sure that they're supported. Because one of the keys here as a frontline professional is that we need the inmates to know that our perception of authority exists. And that's not just through us, but also through the support of our supervisors. And sometimes as supervisors, we may not realize that the actions that we do that circumvent that level of authority, kind of gives the inmates a way to go around that level of authority. So just to give you a quick incident, just to kind of give you a scenario, and then maybe you guys, if you guys know of some that kind of deal with this circumventing of authority, let me know. But the basic premise is that an inmate looks for any inconsistency. That's how they shop for staff. They look for that inconsistency to question directives that they may not like because it's not favorable to them. So to keep things short, let's say I have an officer that has to give this inmate a directive of a no. And a lot of inmates, they don't like no's. They don't like it. Then when the officer gives that directive, the no, the inmate will sit there and want to challenge the no by saying, well, you know what? I'll go speak to supervisor such and such about this no that you just gave me. So now that perception of authority is kind of in limbo right now, believe it or not. The supervisor, when they come in, it's dependent on them now to put that perception of authority back into the hands of the officer. So when the supervisor comes in and the inmate has a concern, that supervisor needs to do whatever they can to make sure that that inmate knows that the officer is who runs the house. The inmate came up to me as a supervisor. The first thing I'm going to ask him is, did you speak to the officer on this issue? Well, what did the officer say? And I'm going to try my best to support that officer's decision. Therefore, I got the perception of authority now, but I'm giving it back over to the officer. If the officer is wrong, there's still ways where I can correct the officer out of inmate's view and have the officer deal with the situation, correct it on, within their means, make sure that the inmate sees that they have the perception of authority there. And we maintain that at no point was that perception of authority given over to the inmate. And again, what a supervisor should never do is, when the inmate has that concern, to not even listen to what the officer has to say, not even try to redirect the inmate back to the officer. And if it's wrong, the supervisor shouldn't say, well, I'll go speak to him and I'll take care of this concern. No, you're going to go speak to the officer, yes, but the officer is going to take care of that concern if they're wrong. The power must go back to the officer. I remember having that issue one time, and I just had this supervisor that just wanted that connection with the inmates, I felt, more than they wanted the connection with staff. And when they started seeing that I'm starting to lose control of the unit, because as I said, I can't do anything because the supervisor's always second guessing my decisions, so the inmates don't look at me as that final catch-all. It's like, well, I can just go to the supervisor. So now here I am disenfranchised. I'm frustrated. And when the supervisor went to ask me, why is it that it looks like you have no control in the unit? My response in return was, well, maybe that's connected to why the inmates love you so much. As always, guys, this show is On the Line. Please subscribe to this channel. We have a lot of content that comes out multiple times a week. So if you get a chance, please check out the content. As always, guys, stay safe.